Hello and welcome to episode 3 of WrestleChats. I'm your host as always, Lamco64 on Twitter, joined as always by my co-host Gazz. It's me, GTW on Twitter. We're going to be discussing the week that was in professional wrestling. But first and foremost, before we get to any of that wrestling stuff, every week we ask what you've been up to this week, what you've been watching, what you've been doing.
What you been chatting, though?
What have you been chatting, though, Gaz? That's what I want to know.
What is you on about, though?
Yeah.
So, this week, I ain't been chatting about nothing, man. I watched... nothing new. I watched Free Guy.
Yes, you did. I also watched Free Guy.
Which, for people who haven't watched Free Guy, but have watched the Lego movie, you've watched Free Guy.
Yeah, very much so.
What about you?
Well, I did watch that, and me and the wife have been rewatching Breaking Bad for the 4 millionth time. Yeah, shit gets bleak, son. But it's incredibly well acted, written, just excellent all round. You talk about The Wire the same way I probably talk about Breaking Bad, and I've still never seen The Wire either, so there you go.
The Wire is excellent.
Yes.
But The Wire is admittedly very bleak, but I wouldn't say it's as bleak as Breaking Bad.
I would say that The Wire is somewhat more impenetrable than Breaking Bad is. Everybody always has these same...
I would agree with that.
Everybody always has the same sort of things to say about Breaking Bad. They go, "Oh, have you seen it?" Like, no, I watched the first couple of episodes, and then, it just didn't really grab me. And then everybody always says that about The Wire as well. Yeah, I watched it first bit, and
really hitting these cultural references and recommendations right at the height.
Yeah.
So what did you recommend on this week's WrestleChats? Oh well, we recommended Breaking Bad and The Wire.
And last week I talked about Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Or a couple of weeks back. Yeah, Jesus. Anyway.
Living in the past.
Yeah, that's what we do. We're breaking things up and making things a little bit different this week. Gaz has wandered into the unknown territory of World Wrestling Entertainment, which is still a really shitty name, even after all these years when they told us to get the F out.
And we did.
Yeah, we did.
We all did.
We all just fucked right off.
Yep.
With smiles on our faces. But no, this week Gaz has watched Raw. 3 hours of WWE RAW. Take it away, Gaz. What did you see this week on Raw?
I tell you, it is punishing. That's my first impression of the whole thing. So I haven't watched Raw for about 3 years, and it was bad before, but you could sort of watch it and there'd be bad elements of it, and there'd be good elements of it, and over time the bad elements started to encroach on the good elements until the ratio tipped too far the other way and everyone got the F out. So I haven't watched it for a really long time, and I thought, well, I'll watch it this week because everyone said, oh, this week's Raw is really good. Obviously, WWE have seen that AEW are coming. They've beaten NXT already. They're starting to push up towards into Raw's sort of demo territory. Perhaps I'll give it a look. Perhaps they're up in their game. No, they aren't.
Just no. Flat no.
Turns out no. So, there are 10 matches on this week's episode of World Wrestling Entertainment Raw. And there are 3 of them that were 15 minutes long. So the opening match was about 10, which was a WWE title match, Big E versus Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Bobby. It was Big E versus Bobby. And then the main event was Big E versus Bobby. And then in the middle of the show there was Riddle versus AJ Styles. And those were the 3 sort of longish match length matches. And then all the other matches, the other 7, were between 2 minutes and 35 seconds long.
Yeah. And judging by that, you know, based off those, which ones are the important storylines, and everything else is just nonsense.
Yeah. Like you know that if you're Keith Lee, and your match is 35 seconds long, that doesn't matter what extra names they stick on you, you are not getting a push. You're not in the middle of a push.
Yeah.
Like if your match is 1.5 minutes, if you're Ricochet and you're wrestling Reginald for the 24/7 title, not in a 24/7 match, and the match ends with a dusty non-finish in 1.5 minutes, you know that you may be getting paid quite well, but you are not getting a push.
You are not that guy. That's well, I mean, personally, like I say, I mean, I've not seen it, not watched it in ages, so I can't legitimately criticize it for any of it.
I can.
I know you can, because you actually watched it the 1 week that somebody's actually watched it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna slag it off, I feel like I should have at least watched it.
Mm.
And if this is what people who watch WWE consider to be a good Raw and a reaction to how good AEW's been, then I firstly shudder to think what a shit Raw looks like. If this one is 7 matches, all of which are between 35 seconds and 2 fucking minutes long, and two of the matches were the same one. So WWE love rematches so much that they're just
Jesus.
rematching the same match on the same show as they already showed it on.
I mean, like I say, because I've not actually seen it, I can't rip on it. But I mean, for instance, Keith Lee. I mean, yeah. Well, this is what I'm getting at. Is there anything different about him? Is he just coming out the same, or is he a heel now? Or supposedly, is that right?
I'll tell you what's different about him. He is worse. So before, when he'd come out and he was Limitless Keith Lee, and he'd come out in his Limitless sort of hoodie there,
yeah,
and he'd do the thing,
yeah,
and everyone would sing Keith Lee, and they thought he was over.
As
now
balls,
he's Keith Lee with none of that.
Yeah.
So he comes out with no facial expression, and he does 2 moves, and then he leaves again, and the audience go, "The fuck was that?"
Yeah.
Is that Keith Lee? You know, some guy called Bearcat. Oh, okay.
And what amazes me is that at this point now, the way WWE see it, or rather the way that Vince McMahon has had to cognitively reframe the situation over at WWE, is that NXT, with all its fancy wrestling and decent matches and work rate and that sort of thing, couldn't beat AEW in the ratings. So that's no good anymore. Let's just we'll go the opposite direction. We'll do what we've always done. Let's just trust Vince McMahon's opinion on everything, and all that wrestling shit goes right out the window. Just doesn't.
What the problem is, when you watch it, you think, like I've just told you that all the matches were sub 2 minutes, and so you think to yourself, oh, so that's 3 hours full of just promos and backstage nonsense and interviews and shit. Nope, because they're also 2 minutes long. There's just 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
So it's like watching a YouTube playlist of 2-minute shorts for 3 hours. Nothing connects to anything else. Nothing means anything. Rhea Ripley comes out and says, I'm in a tag team with Nikki Cross now. And you go, oh, why's that happened? You go, don't worry about it. That's finished. Look at match. Don't look at the match. That match is over. Look, here comes another match. A third match. 4 matches. It's been 3 minutes. You've seen 9 things. Don't turn over.
Please, God, don't turn over.
It's too much, and it's possible that I'm just a terribly old man, and I'm willing to accept that might be part of it. And I'm used to watching long form narrative things, and I'm aware that the kids they have these days are used to watching everything in 30 second to 1 minute bursts, and perhaps that's who's enjoying it. But the demo is people in their 50s.
I was going to say, their demo skews way older than what they're actually shooting for right now, isn't it? Yeah.
And I can't see how a man in his 50s would not be utterly baffled by watching even 5 minutes of Raw.
It just becomes like a habit watch, though, doesn't it? You know, every Monday we always watch the wrestling on TV. Yeah. So, I mean, I can only put, The thing is, though, we're looking at this from a sort of big fans of wrestling perspective. And, at this point now, we are 100% not who WWE is catering to. And haven't been for a while.
Absolutely
now.
not.
No. And
I am now completely convinced of that, having sat and watched Raw. They don't want us to watch it, and that's fine because I don't want to watch it.
They don't care if you watch it or not, really, by the sounds of it. You know, they've already got their money for the TV deal.
Well, that's it. They've already forgotten what happened last week, so it doesn't matter.
And so you should as well.
If you missed last week's Raw, and you want to see any of the matches that were on last week's Raw, just watch next week's Raw, because it will be the exact same stuff. Right,
so a ringing endorsement for the current WWE television product there from Gazz. He loves it.
That's my review. Thumbs down, raspberry.
Thumbs down, raspberry. The worst of the ratings.
Don't go any lower than that.
So that brings us to Wednesday, AEW Dynamite.
You know what that means?
It was good for that as well, but we'll get to it. Like I said last week, that coming off the back of that absolutely stacked 2 Grand Slam shows from Arthur Ashe with the Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega match and all that other stuff, was going to be a bit sobering to come back to, but we opened Dynamite with Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy in an absolute belter. Loved it.
Tasty.
Every second of it. It started off, I noticed when we were watching it, there was seemed a little bit off kilter at first. Maybe for the first couple of 2 or 3 minutes. It just seemed a little bit scrappy, but they soon settled into it. And it was probably the best sort of one-upsmanship, athletic wrestling showcase of 2 people that I've seen in quite a while. Adam Cole, off the back of being in NXT and being under Shawn Michaels' wing, is probably the best in-ring performer for facials and acting and getting across what's happening in the match that I've seen in a long time. Absolutely phenomenal. Loved it.
Agreed. I went 4 bong on the Grapple app.
4 bong, same, yeah.
Which from me is fucking high praise.
Yeah.
I think if there was a couple of minutes of awkwardness there, I attribute that to being like the last bit of Adam Cole's NXT training, just getting knocked off when he wrestles someone who isn't like a football player or one of his friends who's wrestled 30 times before.
I mean, I'll say this much. Jungle Boy is only 24 years old. He is dope in the ring. Just a bit behind Adam Cole, obviously, in the selling aspect and that sort of facial, getting across things with his face and stuff. Selling's a little bit behind as well. But again, you'll get to that. And every single week, it seems that we talk about, oh, this guy's young, he'll learn. They're all getting put in there with people way better than them, so they're only going to get better as they go along. Jungle Boy doesn't look any the worse off for having lost this match at all. He basically got the visual sort of win to a certain extent with the amount of time that he had him in that snare trap submission move. And like I say, he loses in the end due to the cheating of Adam Cole. They both came out of it looking way better as a result.
I think Jungle Boy is going to be, once he finds out what his character is and how he's going to, because he's dressed like Jungle Boy and he looks like Jungle Boy, but he isn't Jungle Boy.
No.
He's just a man dressed like Jungle Boy called Jungle Boy, but you can see it's just a dude. I think once he finds out exactly who he is as a character and he finds his character promo voice, then he'll be fucking straight up the ladder. That's really the only thing holding him back. And as you say, he's 24, so he's the opposite, really, of MJF.
Yeah.
MJF knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly who his character is, but his wrestling's not as good.
Yeah.
Whereas Jungle Boy is the flip.
Yeah, that's it. And I was thinking that when I was watching it, actually. I was thinking to myself, it's a weird one to transition out of, the Jungle Boy gimmick. Like, where does he go next? Because you can't be Jungle Boy forever.
No.
Go on then. Where does he go next then?
what he does, not for a while, once he susses out who he is, and once he sort of gets maybe 2-3 years.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
been Jungle Boy for
he can
a while.
have a good run for Jungle Boy, yeah.
He cuts his hair, he turns heel, sticks a suit on, and he just comes out as Jack Perry.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm Jack Perry.
Hollywood Jack Perry. Something
exactly.
like that,
I've been coming out here, long hair, jungle pants, flipping around the place.
Waving along to the theme song.
Where's it got me? Nowhere. And I'm rich.
Yeah, it's good.
Because you know who my dad is.
When I was thinking that, I was like, can you just imagine him in a suit with that long hair? But there you go, you cut his hair.
Yeah.
Give him his dad's slick haircut.
Exactly. He joins MJF, because MJF was on TV when he was younger. And they do like a child star, like shitty child star gimmick.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah, where he's on some talk show. Is it Sally Jesse Raphael or something? Isn't it? He's on.
Yeah, he's on like Rosie. He's on TV loads when he was younger.
With his shit-eating grin.
Yeah.
So yeah, 4 bong on that Jungle Boy versus
for real, incredible,
match.
really, really good. AEW are brilliant at opening matches.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing with that WWE tried to semi-copy this week with Big E versus Lashley in a title match, but they fucked it up because they gave it a non-finish and then they did it again 2.5 hours later. Missed it by that much.
So then after that we get a backstage promo. Andrade has some Lucha friends to take on the Lucha Bros, apparently. So Andrade now just bringing in people to face tag teams. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't give a shit. When's this going to end?
It feels like every week. It doesn't feel like they've got a cohesive, coherent, full-on plan for what they want to do with Andrade. At this point, you know, you could always give them the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes it takes them a little bit longer to get to stuff in AEW, as we've mentioned before.
Yeah.
But this feels like wheel spinning at this point. Like, what are you doing? Are you facing Pac? Apparently, he's having a rematch with Pac at some point. That's supposed to be happening, I think.
He's stuck here, though, I think, Pac.
He's burning through managers. I honestly think that maybe it is the fact that they were going to build to Ric Flair turning out to be his, like, oh, this is my actual manager. But they've had to drop that because of the whole...
meat copter business.
Meat copter business to keep started. If you want to find out about Meat Copter, feel free to check out our Friday watch-along video. It's the first of its kind on our channel. And basically every Friday since lockdown happened in March of 2020, we've been meeting up pretty much every weekend, either Friday or Saturday, meeting on this same video chat thing that we're on here now, drinking some beers and watching wrestling together. So I decided to edit it down into a 25-minute video of all the best bits. Watch us get drunk.
It's well worth it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready for some jokes that you absolutely probably won't get?
If you like in-jokes, but don't like being in on jokes, then you will love...
Have I got the video for you? So...
Set aside 25 minutes to be confused/annoyed.
Give it a watch. That's all I'm asking. Okay, then we get Cody and Big Shotty Lee. Big Shotty Lee Johnson versus Dante Martin and Matt Sydal. This was mainly an angle advancement match to a certain extent, but they did it in a pretty fun way. Again, they've got Dante Martin on Dynamite again. They keep finding ways to put him in there, and every time he does it, he does something fucking mental, and it's awesome. This week, Cody was on the outside. He had a bit of a plancher off, basically. And the last one to do the plancher was Dante Martin, who literally leapt from the ground to the top rope and then did a mental, gigantic Jeff Hardy style swanton, knocked them all down, landed on his feet, and then went, ah! Fucking amazing.
He seemed genuinely surprised that he landed on his feet.
I don't think Dante Martin is ever surprised that he landed on his feet because he's that meant at doing that sort of shit. It's crazy. Crazy shit. He's a freak. Oh no, we've lost Mick Foley.
The weekly Mick Foley portrait bump.
get him back on there. But amidst this weird sort of out of nowhere tag match, you get obviously the continuing dissension of the Rhodes family. Cody Rhodes being a super baby face, getting booed to shit by the entire audience, pretty much. I mean, was he doing heel stuff, or was he being super babyface on purpose? So I forget exactly which route he was taking on that.
He came out last week and got booed to fuck.
Yeah, really bad.
And so this week he did his usual Cody babyface stuff, but you could tell he was doing it, but acknowledging that it wasn't getting him cheers anymore, and he was a bit confused.
The whole point that they're trying to get to, I'm guessing, is obviously Cody's going to get pissed about something that somebody's going to do. In the end of the match, saw Big Shotty Lee basically drag Cody by his weight belt thing to the corner so he could tag himself in, and then he hit a bunch of moves and he won the match basically off that. And without Cody, and Cody was like, "Oh, okay, so he's won." And we got the post-match promo by Arn Anderson.
Can't spell Arn without NRA.
No, you really can't. And he basically said, you need to do better than this. Because at the beginning of the match, I forgot about that actually. Arn Anderson said, "Right, Lee's starting. Big Shotty Lee's starting in the ring," and Cody was like, "No, I've got this," and he made him go in the corner, and he started the match. And then obviously what happened, and they lost the match. They won the match, but Big Shotty Lee obviously took over and stole it, basically. Where do they go from here? What do you reckon?
It's an odd one. I went 2.75 on this. I thought that it was good, but I think that it's hard now to get invested in anything that Cody does, because he does it for a couple of weeks and then he fucks off again. And you get the feeling that he's just going to fuck off again in a couple of weeks' time, and then he won't be back for a month, and then he'll come back and he'll carry on. And you can't do one storyline over 18 months by having 10 of those months off. I can't continue to be interested in it. I know that they put him in there with Dante Martin to get him booed.
Yes.
That was a good move. Face versus face matches are always a little bit weird, but he's in there any time he has any offense on Dante Martin. He's so over with that crowd that people will boo Cody.
They knew what they were doing.
That was a clever booking move. They know what they're doing, yeah. But I just don't know if I'm interested. I
mean, it definitely needs to kick into another gear soon. Maybe for a couple more weeks you could get this sort of stuff. I mean, obviously you could always do the full-blown sort of final snap-in around time of the next pay-per-view, either just before or just after or something like that.
I think the problem is, who does he turn heel against? What's this leading to? What's the match? Because if it's leading to if it's Cody versus Big Shotty Johnson at a pay-per-view, I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be some sort of proxy person who will, Cody will snap, he'll beat the shit out of say it's Big Shotty Lee, or he'll hit Crossroads on Arn Anderson or something like that. And then, unless maybe they're building to him versus Dustin again. That's a good point.
Yeah, but he said he wouldn't wrestle Dustin again.
Did he?
After All Out, yeah.
See, this is the thing now. When he turns heel, he's got all of the sort of carte blanche he needs to basically go, well, I'm a bad guy now, so all that stuff I said before, fuck that. I'm going to challenge for the AEW World Title, and I'm going to wrestle my brother again. Because I'm an arsehole now, which would be great. It's excellent ammo to that fight, to put in his gun for that. And I'd be all over that if he rocked up wearing that big fluff. You remember when he used to come out in that big pink jacket, taking the piss when AEW first started, and he kept getting the audience to quote Master P and stuff like that, didn't he? If he came out in that, and he was all like, right, well, I said I'd never wrestle my brother again, but fuck you, I'm wrestling my brother again now. And also, I've got the title shot. If he went to the top of the rankings and did it properly and then won the title, heel champion Cody, I would argue would be ace. Because then you get him back into that big match position that we've been saying about that he needs to get back to. An arsehole. I mean, obviously, this is way down the line now. I'm talking maybe in about a year's time. He could be a heel for a year, give him the title for a bit, and off the back of that, because that really bugged me, that did, when he did that stipulation and said that he would never challenge for the title again, because it's limiting your options. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of options in AEW, but why not allow Cody to have a title match here and there every now and then, because he's a good big match wrestler.
I understand why he did it when AEW started, because he's an EVP, and because we're all used to how WWE does things. You're like, oh, well, he's just going to book himself to be the champion, because that's what Vince did 6 times. And so he had to nip that straight in the bud. He had to go, look, well, I'll tell you what, I can't ever be the champion then. There you go. So shut up about it. But I think things have progressed enough now. AEW's been on TV for 2 years as of, I think, yesterday. It's long enough away that we don't need him to do that anymore. We've seen, like, Kenny's an EVP and he's the champion, and no one minds about that.
Yeah.
And the Bucks were champions, and no one minds about that either. Also, we all know that they're EVPs, like, on the business card, but they don't actually get to do anything.
Yeah, that was a news report fairly recently, actually, that a lot of the creative control that those EVPs had has, to a certain extent, been stripped back now. They're not in charge of coming up with storylines for individual. Initially, it was Kenny was doing the women's division, and the Bucks were obviously booking the tag division. I think Cody and Tony together were booking all the everything else, basically. But that's largely been stripped away now. Everybody's got control over the thing. Everybody has input on everything, but everything goes through Tony Khan now. And if that's the case, and everybody knows that's the case, we know that Cody's not going to book himself to win the title. And even if he did, at this point, I buy him as a world champion. So why not? It doesn't.
He just needs to follow through on it. He can't just be. He can't just come back and wrestle Penta once, and then wrestle Anthony Ogogo, who then disappears, and then wrestle QT Marshall, who no one cares about, and then wrestle Aleister Black 6 times, and then disappear for a while. Like, he needs to have a proper feud with someone that lasts a little while, and that he sticks around for. Otherwise, there's going to be no reason to invest in him as doing anything else. He needs to face one other person before he fully turns heel, so that we can get used to him just being there in the first place.
Yeah.
Because you don't think of him as a babyface or a heel. He's just part-time Cody. And he needs to re-establish himself as a babyface first with a proper feud. And he didn't do that with Aleister Black. He wrestled him, disappeared for a month, and then wrestled him again.
And now he's getting booed.
He needs to put himself back into the mix of AEW.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really work there, and he needs to start working there again.
Yeah, agreed. I gave that 3 bong. I enjoyed the match. Again, it got some story stuff over it. It did what it needed to do.
The average on the app is 3.4, so I'm not much lower than that, and you're about right.
Next, we get Eddie Kingston, John Moxley, and Darby Allin versus Bear Country and some dickhead. I forget his name, but he was somebody who wrestled on Dark a bunch, apparently. This seemed like a get some names on the card sort of match. It was fine.
It was Anthony Green.
There you go, that's the one. Annoying dickhead. Anyway,
whatever that means. I could have said any 2 words then, couldn't I?
And I would have said, yes, that's who he is.
It was Scoot Razorback.
It was Cheech Norman.
Oh, I like him. He's good. He was good on Dark.
I like Bear Country. They've not been on Dynamite very much, but I enjoyed what I saw of them. They did some pretty cool big lad stuff. You need some big lads tag teams, and they don't have a great deal of them in AEW. A lot of the teams are, here's 2 guys, true. And they do a lot of the same stuff, and they look the same. I was like, oh, sweet, 2 big lads. Awesome. That was good. You don't get a lot of one big guy, one short guy team outside of Jurassic Express either. So maybe vary that up a bit.
I do think that at this point, John Moxley needs to be doing something.
Yeah.
He isn't doing anything. He had a one and done with Suzuki, and then before that he was the US champion, so he wrestled Lance Archer, and then he wrestled that other guy, the NJPW guy, at All Out.
Yeah.
But he's not
Satoshi Kojima.
He's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not going to do anything, then keep him off TV for a little while. So when he comes back to do something, we'll all be super excited. But he isn't. He's not doing anything. He just turns up and has another 6-man against the Wingmen or Bear Country or Cheech Norman and Scoot Razorback. And it's not anything. It's not progressing anything. He's just turning up to work.
At this point, I mean, I think the gist of it is that they're doing this whole Moxley versus New Japan thing. I think if it weren't for the travel restrictions and stuff, we might be a little bit further into this Forbidden Door thing that they keep pushing at. And the only reason that they haven't been able to fully sort of do a big storyline around it is because of the travel restrictions. I mean, it's still really hard to get in and out of Japan, from what I hear. I know the odd one is getting out.
Then don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I see what you mean.
Then just don't do it.
Wait
do it next
until
year.
you can do it properly to do it.
Yeah, and I understand, like, Moxley versus New Japan is good, but that doesn't mean he has to be on TV every week in 6-man tags, or like he can have him face Suzuki and then be off for a couple of weeks. It's the opposite problem of Cody, really. Moxley's on TV too much and he isn't doing anything, and Cody's never on TV and doesn't do anything. But neither of them are doing anything. Just do something.
Just do something.
Just do something.
That's all he asks. Yeah, fine match. You know, who you expected to went over. It wasn't very long, inoffensive. Yeah. Next we get Hardy Family Office versus Orange Dark Order. This was obviously because it was in Rochester, New York this week, Brody's hometown and all that. I fucking love this. I don't give a shit what you say. I fucking love this. This was awesome. The whole bit with them making out like they weren't on the same page again, and Evil Uno tries to leave. Negative One comes out and chucks the papers at Evil Uno, sells it like it's been shot in the head. Back to the ring, Amanda Huber's out with him as well. They work on it. And I swear to God, what's his name? Silver doing the crazy run around the ring and batter everybody's spot was awesome.
That was great. Yeah.
Love that, man. That was awesome. It was exactly what the match needed to be, considering where it was and who it was in front of. And yeah. I had a big grin on my face from the second he threw them papers at him. They were off, and I loved that. That finishing sequence at the end as well, where they just hit like 12 moves on that one guy in the space of
was great.
Like 10 seconds. That was amazing. Really, really enjoyed it. Really well put together little tag match that put a big smile on your face and made everybody in the arena happy. Can't fault it.
I went 3 on this, which is about the average. It was good. I enjoyed it. I didn't like that seems to be... We'll come on to Rampage in a minute, but that seems to be the end of the Dark Order fell out with each other thing, which didn't really go anywhere. Like maybe they were always leading it up to this Rochester show, where they'd get brought back together again by Negative One and Amanda Huber, but it seemed like they were doing it and waiting for Hangman to come back.
Yeah.
Because that's why they were arguing in the first place. And Hangman hasn't come back.
No.
But now they're all just pals again. It's just, that's stopped. We're just not doing that anymore.
I mean, obviously it looks like that's the end of that now. I could see them doing it, like carrying it on. Maybe somebody else does something else. Purely because, they're in Rochester. It was the same as when they did those Brody tribute shows last week. Tony Khan came out at the beginning of them and he said, this night, for the fans, blah, blah, blah. It's about honouring Brody, etc. We're going to let the storylines go away for tonight's sake, and, we're going to remember Brody Lee and all that. So whether or not they were doing that sort of thing because it was in Rochester, maybe I can see. If it is the end of it, then, maybe, I think I agree that I was expecting them to carry it on until Hangman came back. They'd all rally around Hangman again and everything would be great. So maybe this is just a stopgap in that. I don't know. But if it is the end of it, it does seem... I see what you mean. They built it up to not pay it off in the way that people were expecting.
Essentially, yeah. The match was a lot of fun, though. I got no problem with that. As I say, I went 3 on it. I like the Dark Order, but
I do.
They're not central to anything.
No.
They're like behind Adam Page or behind Orange Cassidy. They're not like Evil Uno, or Evil Uno's really good. He's a really good talker, but they don't really let him talk very much. And like John Silver's a really good wrestler. They're a good tag team, him and Reynolds, but they don't wrestle as a tag team very much, and they don't do anything.
They need to be doing more. They need more stuff to do. Yeah,
they're not. They do a lot. The Dark Order are on TV quite a bit, but they're not central to their own storyline. Even with them falling out with each other, that was about Hangman. That was about somebody else.
Everybody's still waiting for him to fix it. So
the Dark Order is like a 15-man stable. There's no reason for them not to be like, if they're going to be baby faces, then they should be out. Like, why aren't they attacking the Elite? Like, why aren't they? Because they don't have a star in the middle. That's why.
Yeah. I keep waiting for. I mean, the way they were making it look, they made it look like Evil Uno and Stu Grayson were going to branch off from them.
Yeah.
And carry on being heels while the rest of them maybe stayed face with somebody in the middle of them, maybe Hangman or something. I mean, I don't know if it works that way or whether or not, because I mean, I like Grayson and Evil Uno. I rate as a tag team. I think they're really, really good. Yeah. And I thought they got a really shit hand. The Dark Order stuff was starting to go well, and then that whole Leighton punches thing sort of derailed it for a bit, knackered them. Yeah, and I felt bad for them because it was not any fault of their own. They were doing really well to start with, and they did give Evil Uno a lot of mic time to carry that at the start of it. I think they should carry on letting him talk. I remember not long back he came out to the ring, and it looked like he was going to get a talkie segment, and then somebody decked him like after he said like 4 words, and they I was like, no, let him talk. I was really, really miffed about that. But yeah, where it goes from here, I don't know. But it was a fun as shit match, and it was perfect for what they wanted to do with it. There's a backstage promo from Hikaru Shida, who we haven't seen in a while.
Remember her?
Yeah. Promo for them for her having a match with Serena Deeb. Was this for this is for next week's Dynamite, isn't it? That they were advertising.
Yeah, Dynamite next week.
Yeah. Shit up! I'll watch the shit out of that. That sounds awesome. We get a Penelope Ford and Bunny versus Tay Conti and Anna Jay, a match they've been building to for a while. Potential incoming women's tag division, maybe. Was my thought when they all came out.
They're building towards a secondary women's singles title.
Yeah, I remember reading that as well.
The TBS Championship.
Is that what they reckon that's going to be? Do they?
Yeah, so it's going to be a women's TV title, basically.
Yeah. I mean, the women definitely need something else to be fighting about, so that there's more going off. Absolutely, I would have argued
into it.
that.
I think it's a great idea.
I mean, either way is good. I think I would have preferred a women's tag division. Don't ask me why. Especially with the
not
Bucks.
Enough women.
I mean, there's a lot of women though, isn't there? They've got quite a few women on the roster now.
They would just have to do what WWE did. Like, we've got women's tag team titles. You go, okay, what women's tag teams have you got? So we've got the Iconics. Okay, well, who else? And then they just get women who aren't busy and
put them together.
Yeah. Now.
But yeah, feel good moment at the end with -1 and Tay Conti, because they're like good mates and everything. It was a similar sort of deal.
Yeah.
They built up to this. It was a decent match. You know, I think I gave it 3. Just good.
Hang on. The average is 2. 2.02. I went 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5, 3, something like that. It was decent. It was okay. Bunny and Penelope do work well together, though. I'll say that much. They as a heel tag team, they work pretty well together, doing their team offense and stuff like that. I quite enjoyed their heel shtick on that match. It was alright.
I rate Penelope Ford. I think she's good.
Yeah,
I think Penelope Ford knows exactly who she is and how she wants to portray her character. She's a really good heel, and I think it comes from having been managing in AEW for 2 years nearly.
Yeah.
Now she starts wrestling more regularly. Now Kip Sabian's out in the car park with a fucking box on his head. She can wrestle more often, and she gets better and better every match. I think she's not perfect, but she definitely improves every time you see her.
She's definitely.
I think she's going to be, especially with that secondary title. I think she's a good shout for it.
We'll see. They do the video package for the big three-way no DQ match for Rampage with Jade Cargill, Thunder Rosa, and Nyla Rose. I thought that was a pretty good little bit of business there. Thunder Rosa's mint whenever she's talking. Really good on the mic, and the presentation of Jade Cargill so far has been absolutely amazing. And
she's good as well. She's not amazing because she's not been doing it very long, but she's very good.
She's good for somebody who's been doing it as little time that she has done. She's not been wrestling very long at all, and she's already doing okay. We'll come to that in Rampage time, but she's got a ways to go, but they've strapped the rocket to her, and they've definitely given it beans with the presentation. So we get MJF coming out to be an arsehole, as per usual, his weekly arseholeness.
Arsehole segment.
Mentions Darby Allin. At this point, it made me laugh a couple of times throughout the show so far. CM Punk's been on commentary the whole show. He keeps bringing up this Lloyd's of London contract that he's got. I reckon he's got a Lloyd's of London insurance policy, and that's why he's not wrestling this week. Because otherwise he'll ruin it and he won't get his payout for that. And he keeps bringing it up. He brought it up again at that point. Anyway, it made me laugh. Darby Allin came out, confronted him, and basically just no-sold MJF's shtick. Basically, he was like, "Oh, I know this. Blah blah blah. You did this. Oh, your uncle died in the car crash." And he thought he was going to get him, and he was like, "Say what you want. I'm not bothered." And MJF was like, "Oh God." my only weapon doesn't work, and he fucked off. I quite enjoyed that. That's the first time you've ever seen him. Oh no, my mouth didn't do anything. It was.
My mouth wrote some checks, but no one cared.
And my mouth wrote some checks, and Darby's ass cashed them.
Fuck.
Shit. Yeah, he actually cashed them. Oh my God. That's obviously building to something between those two. They've had matches before on the indies. No doubt the promos will be decent, and Darby Allin's always game to get his ass handed to him in a match. MJF will do something horrific to him, and we'll go ooh and ah, and it'll be good.
I think that has been placed really well after MJF had his little mini feud with Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah.
Because if the point is supposed to be that MJF can't get under Darby Allin's skin, it's good that he came off of a feud where that's all he did.
That's literally what he did for weeks on end, was get under somebody's skin.
All that happened.
Yeah.
And before that with Jericho, again, that's all he did. Barely wrestled him for 7 weeks, but he just came out and cut dickhead promos on him.
It's stuff like that.
It's a lovely ramp up. Yeah.
It's stuff like that it makes it blatantly obvious that they do book way in advance, because like you said, you can see the arc. It's just good booking. Our main event is Miro versus Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship. This was a really good match, first and foremost, but also a pretty hefty surprise with the winner. Sammy Guevara, your new TNT champion, off the back of that. They've done a pretty good job over the past 2 years of making Sammy Guevara into a pretty big deal. This is the fruit of the labour. I didn't necessarily think he was going to win going in, but I didn't not think he was going to win. The thing, I can see a lot of people getting miffed about this. They probably wanted Miro to go on a dominant, crazy, long title reign. I honestly think at this point his gimmick and his matches are strong enough that he's kind of outgrown it.
I would agree. I don't know what he does now though, because all your big baby faces are doing something. So he's got no one, unless he goes into a thing with Moxley, who isn't doing anything. That's something. But there's no one really else for him to work with. Like your big baby faces are Jungle Boy, who's busy, Sammy, who's busy, Darby, who's busy, Moxley, who isn't.
I wouldn't be mad
Hangman,
at him.
who's not there.
I wouldn't be mad at him getting mixed into the mix with Moxley and Kingston. I mean, obviously, that match he had with
that's
Kingston
the only
was good.
place I can see him going.
Yeah, that'd be good. But I agree. Maybe a bit longer run would have been better. But I guess they obviously see more value in Sammy being the champion now at this point. And as I'd say, I think he's sort of outgrown it. I think he needs to start being put up into that world title scene, cycled around in that. Maybe he gets a few wins, a win over Moxley to put him up there or something like that. If nothing else, I mean, at some point soon-ish, a face is gonna take that title from Kenny, and then once that happens, you've obviously got a big train of heel challenges for them. Miro should be at the very front of that.
Yeah, for sure.
That works for me. And like you say, they've done a really good job of making Sammy Guevara into a thing. It was a really good match, I thought. I think I gave it 4. Nice sprawl. I mean, Miro is just absolutely amazing, chucking people about. His facial expressions, character work in the ring, it's all really, really good stuff. And he put him over as well. I mean, there wasn't, other than he got too heated, he got pissed off, he pulled all the turnbuckle pads off, and it was through his own rage that his own undoing became in front of him, and he obviously lost the match because of his own shit. So it's sort of like he still stays strong in the loss, is what I'm saying. So he doesn't look
he doesn't look bad at all.
No, not at all. Again, another example of them having a match and both people coming out looking better as a result of it. As AEW have done a good job.
My only concern is that from time to time, and I would say possibly even more often than not, AEW will book someone up to a certain point, but they have a long-term plan for them, but not yet. So there's this limbo zone where they, like Orange Cassidy beat Jericho and he was up here, and then he didn't really do anything, and he's not really doing anything now. And they must have something they want to do with him because they're keeping him on TV. But he's, for every feud with Jack Evans that he has, his momentum from beating Jericho gets further and further away, and we start to forget that he even did it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mention this much: he did get a title shot in the middle of that, a world title shot. So with Orange Cassidy, so that's definitely a fucking mint match as well.
After he had that weird feud about video game cabinets, with Miro, that lasted 50 years, and then he had that Omega match. Now he's feuding with Matt Hardy
for some reason.
Ever.
Yeah. It's the holding pattern thing, isn't it? They put you up to a position and they're like, right, we don't need you here yet, because we've got that booked for that point. So just for now, you're gonna have to be hovering around here. I see what you mean. It's true. Again, I will take it over the way WWE book shit. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely, but it's not perfect.
So, bookends. You get Adam Cole, Jungle Boy, Miro, Sammy Guevara. Some decent stuff in the middle. Good episode of Dynamite. I enjoyed it. So then Friday, we get AEW Rampage. Gaz is going to take the forward on this because I didn't do any notes for it, like a naughty boy.
I am. Here we go.
Yes.
So we open up on straight away, no fucking around. Bryan Danielson versus Adam Cole. No.
Nick Jackson.
No, Nick Jackson. Sorry,
yes.
Fuck me. Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson. It was just Excalibur and Taz and Ricky Starks on commentary, so it wasn't their usual 19-man booth. And it was so much better for it. Taz knows what he's doing. He's been a colour commentary for years. Ricky Starks is fine. He's done it for 3 weeks, and he's not terrible. He's all right.
He can talk.
But he keeps his head down. He's the odd bit here and there, but he doesn't interject too much, just to remind you that he exists. And Excalibur's a really good play-by-play guy. So it's a good little team that they've got. And then you are on to Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson, the best Jackson.
Great match. Yeah, he is the best Jackson, by far. Good, great match. It's good to see them pull that out as quickly as they did as well. I honestly thought that we were going to get a few weeks, months of Bryan Danielson just sort of hanging around, similar to what CM Punk's been doing to a certain extent, being, featured matches maybe here and there, but you know what Bryan Danielson's like. He wants to wrestle, and I'm sure Nick Jackson was probably on his list of people that he wanted to wrestle. And a rare singles match for Nick Jackson, but whenever they put him in a singles match, it's ace. And this was no different. It was really, really good. Really, really
Bryan
good
Danielson
stuff.
is in a really good position. They're doing well with both him and Punk. Punk is only wrestling people when it's time. So like he wrestled Darby, and then he wrestled Will Hobbs, and then just no one. But he's there still. And the next person will come along who he's going to wrestle. And it probably going to end up being Ricky Starks, I'd have thought, if he carries on his Team Taz thing. But he'll wrestle someone. But Bryan Danielson should be there every week, wrestling someone every week.
And that's
what he went there for.
Exactly what he wants to do as well. He doesn't.
And that's exactly what he is doing.
Vince wouldn't let him wrestle as much as he wanted to, or the style that he wanted to wrestle in. And now he's getting to do it. I bet he's loving it. Great match. Bryan Danielson goes over, obviously. Cattle mutilation finish as well. First time he's won a match with that in God knows how long. Can't fault it. It's just Bryan Danielson is wrestling in a company that will let him wrestle.
Done.
Just shut up and take my fucking money.
After that, we got a big fat schmoz, Christian Cage and Jurassic Express and all the Elite. But Jungle Boy got another visual win.
Yes.
Because he put the snare trap on Adam Cole again.
Yeah.
So they've got big plans in the future for Jungle Boy, because they're pushing him pretty heavily still in this feud with the Elite. It's ticking over really nicely, and it means that eventually we'll get like Christian versus Adam Cole maybe, which is a good place for Christian to be, I think.
Yes.
But you can keep Kenny out of it. He can keep semi-feuding with Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, as much as he wants. But eventually Hangman's going to come back, so you have to keep him busy while that's happening. Everyone in the top 5 is heels, so they can't go for the title, so he needs to be doing something else. But Christian versus Adam Cole will be a brilliant one. That's a really good Dynamite main event for in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
Possibly for the Impact title. I wouldn't mind that either, if Adam Cole won the Impact title of it.
Good call. Yeah. That'd be a great move. Again, the options there are numerous, and because they've always got a lot to do, because it's the main players of the show. But yeah, great match.
Then you get a Will Hobbs and Hook introduce a special Ricky Starks vignette.
Yeah.
To push his eventual match with Brian Cage, which I don't care about, and was weird when they had it last time. I understand why they have to do it, to sort of put that whole thing to bed. But their match before was super awkward. It may just be because Starks was still a bit injured, so he shouldn't really have been in the match.
I think he still is now.
But they've got weird chemistry, I think. That their next match is not going to be that good, and then they both need to immediately part ways.
Don't really have to go.
And then you got a nice little concise CM Punk promo, like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Punk says 4 or 5 sentences, exactly everything he needed to say, not a word extra. That was a really lovely. He knows how to. If you give him too much time, I think CM Punk, he just starts warming up the crowd, like an end of the pier comedian, and it's weird. But if you give him a couple of minutes, comes in, does his minutes, and then he's done. You're like, fuck, I know exactly what's going on and why.
Yeah, it was good.
Then you're on to Anything Goes. Jade Cargill versus Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa. Jade Cargill, we've been through this a little bit, but Jade Cargill looks great. She's been really well presented. They're hiding her sort of greenness very well by putting her in matches with people more experienced than she is.
Yeah.
So Nyla Rose and particularly Thunder Rosa. But she's not overtly cheating, so she's a heel because she's being a dick.
Yeah.
But she's still winning matches clean, essentially.
Because she's a big giant lady and battering people.
Exactly, yeah. She's getting a lovely little steady build back on Dynamite now. She got a load of wins on Dark, which don't matter. And now she's back on TV, and she won this match, again, clean. And it was a surprise, because she pinned Thunder Rosa, not Nyla Rose, who I would have thought they would have had eat the pin in that match. I'd assume that's why she was there, because they don't really do anything with Nyla Rose anymore.
Yeah.
And Thunder Rosa is, she's top of the list for winning that new women's title, I'd have thought.
I think the Nyla and Jade Cargill, I mean, even though they were technically in a match together here, I always got the feeling that they were building to them having a women's hoss battle, which you very rarely get to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't expect they would have blown it off here, especially with Jade Cargill pinning Thunder Rosa. So that's the only reason I can see that logic behind it, if they build into a singles match between those two. But yeah, it was a good match. No DQ match. It was bunch of weapons and tables flying around.
Some lovely weapon spots, but they didn't overdo it. They were there, but it wasn't the whole thing. It wasn't like that Raven Royal Rumble. But they didn't forget that they were doing it either, so they didn't do nothing. They did just enough stuff, I think, to get over the fact that it was anything goes.
The finish to the match is what got me. Jade Cargill just battered the ever-loving shit out of Thunder Rosa with that chair and pinned her. Right, what do we have next on that one? Because I sort of half saw the
lovely
end of
little Malachi Black promo where there he goes.
Carry on.
It was a lovely little Malachi Tommy Black promo where he says, "I'm done with the Nightmare Family now, thank the fuck."
Yes.
And we're moving on to it. There's a lot of that in this. CM Punk's promo was that as well, just saying we're done with that thing now. Another thing's coming. I'm still here. Just wait for the next thing. Pretty much. His eye makeup is still inexplicable. But when you shoot him in black and white, it doesn't look too bad.
No, and it is getting bigger every week. It's more detail again around his eye and the sort of cheekbony bit there. I noticed this week. So the saga of the very slowly applied face paint of Aleister Black continues. Good backstage promo though. I mean, he's ace. He's ace as a promo as well. I really like his character.
It felt like a nice old style ECW stairs promo.
Yeah.
It's just on the back stairs, does his promo, walks up the stairs.
It'd be interesting to see where he goes now. I mean, who's available now for Aleister Black?
He's not really a heel anymore.
Yeah, I mean...
Cody accidentally turned him face. So I don't know sort of where he does go from here.
It's I mean, the way that they're building him up, I mean, he could quite easily be, if not in stature, but certainly in character, he could be the AEW Undertaker. He could just floats into any sort of situation, and then it's a big deal because he's involved in it. And that's his spot. But where he goes to next, I don't know. Be interesting to see.
You then have a little bit just to push Sammy Guevara's first TNT title defense, which is next week on Dynamite, and is Bobby Fish.
Yeah, they had just sort of threw that out of nowhere. Oh, by the way, Bobby Fish is here.
Yeah. I'm super into this. I really enjoyed when Cody was champion, and just every week it was Warhorse and just people you didn't know.
Just random challenges.
Oh, fuck, who's this guy? Eddie Kingston. And if they're going to do that, that was a fun era for that title, I think. Just having them come in. When you've got a face champion, just Bobby Fish comes in, Sammy beats him. Bobby Fish is not going to get signed, and nor should he. But a one and done for Bobby Fish would be great. It's a nice payday for him. It would be a really good match. I'm buzzing for it, but I hope they carry on doing it. I hope that every week or every other week, Sammy wrestles someone. Maybe he wrestles Dante Martin one week, maybe he wrestles Danhausen another week. So someone who works there, someone who doesn't, and just rolls through a couple of people. They're going to be interesting matches to see who it is he faces each time. Yeah,
I mean that's the way I've always seen the TNT title. It's like the open like you mentioned it being with, I didn't realise that the rankings weren't involved in it, but with it being just sort of an open challenge, everybody can go for it.
Nor did I.
Yeah. So if it's going to be like that, it's a bit like when John Cena did his US Championship Invitational. He'd have a match every week on Raw. He'd get some time, and it'd be a good little match. So if anybody can carry that, it's Sammy Guevara. So.
Yeah, for sure.
And
then lastly, and indeed leastly,
it was a weird order to the matches.
But this is how they do Rampage, though. I'm starting to realise this because of what time it's on. It's on at like 10 o'clock at night. It gets worse as it goes on.
They put the main event on first and then peter out from there.
Basically, yeah, because everyone fucks off to bed.
Yeah.
4 or 5 weeks ago, or 8 years ago, whenever this feud started, I don't even know anymore. Matt Hardy was like, I tell you, anyway, thanks Private Party, I'll continue taking all your money. I'm big money Matt, money. And I tell you who I do hate, Orange Cassidy. I'm going to shave his head. How does that sound? Hair versus hair. What about that? And then they kept mentioning it, or they're going to do hair versus hair, and Orange Cassidy's got hair, so that makes sense, I suppose. And then all of a sudden it was Jack Evans, like they'd never mentioned it before.
It was like...
And they definitely booked it like a month ago for Matt Hardy, and then changed their mind, and now it's Jack Evans, who no one cares about in the world.
I feel bad for Jack Evans because he's got some decent like in-ring skills, and some of the shit he does is mad. He got plenty of offense in this match as well.
He did, but no one gave a fuck.
No, yeah, it's a very, very weird sort of decision to put him in there. I mean, I guess it was just because he said, "Yeah, I'll have my head shaved." You know what I mean? I don't want to have my head shaved. I'll take the post-match haircut. I mean, it was a fun little way to end the show as well. I enjoyed everybody coming out to stop him from fucking off away from the haircut and all that. That was good. And again, you get the Rochester, New York Dark Order happy smiley time to end the show. That was all. It was all fine, but I questioned why it was happening multiple times as I was watching it.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Why are we still doing this? Why is Jack Evans in the main event of anything? All this is doing is prolonging the feud to the eventual Matt Hardy Orange Cassidy hair versus hair match that I thought was booked months ago for another fucking 6 weeks. So they eventually shaved Matt Hardy's head, which is 100% what's going to happen.
You think?
And then, yeah, definitely. If that doesn't happen, some sort of terrible forfeit for me. But I'll watch Raw again. But I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. They're going to do Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy, hair versus hair, fucking finally blow it off. But at that point, I'll have grown so old that I won't remember when it started. It's nothing. This is the QT Marshall Cody Rhodes feud again. They just keep doing these things, and so much stuff they do is right, and so many like storylines and things they do make perfect sense and are so really well built. But they don't know when to give up on something that isn't getting over.
Yeah. Chuck Taylor as well, just sort of standing around in the background for Orange Cassidy lately.
Doing nothing.
Yeah, it's like ever since Trent got injured, it's like they got no idea what to do with him, and he just sort of stands around and I enjoyed seeing him in that barber's outfit, and he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But you know, that's what annoys me about it is he is a funny guy. We'll just have him doing promos every week. Get him doing something other than just standing around. But, you know.
He's not
doing anything. Do something.
Do something.
Right, so that brings us to the end of Rampage. Unless you've got anything else to add.
I was going to talk briefly about the draft, but I've decided that I don't care because it doesn't matter.
No.
So some people got drafted to one show, some people got drafted to another show. I saw a bit of it. The same two people, Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce, run both shows. So they're drafting for themselves each time. So there's no competition element to it in the draft. And the draft doesn't matter because all that will happen is Montez Ford gets drafted to SmackDown. But then in 3 weeks' time, he'll just turn up on Raw anyway.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
What's
the point of any of it?
And on that happy note, that will do it for this week's episode of WrestleChats. Peace.